Hey, all my Pisces friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your June 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Pisces, I'm referring to Pisces rising as dictating the landscape of the chart. This is also applicable to Pisces sun and Pisces moon, as well as if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Pisces, this would be also applicable to you. When I refer to a day and time, it's based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. June starts off with some really easy aspects, and at the same time, there's a bit brewing underneath the surface as we see that Mars and Chiron are continuing the conversation that they have been having since the end of May or middle of May in your second house of your self-worth, your family history, your personal skills and talents, as well as your voice. This conversation is an opportunity for a rewrite of the chronic wound that has potentially thwarted you from moving forward. Mars is very strong in Aries because it rules Aries. So here, I believe that while there could have potentially been initial annoyances or anger that came up, resentments, old stories came up at the same time, there's an opportunity to reconcile those experiences and then individuate yourself through them. We see that Pluto is retrograde in your 12th house. Pluto is at 1 degree of Aquarius before it's going to move back into Capricorn, and it's making a lovely aspect here to Gemini, which is your 4th house, Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter will be in Gemini for about a year till June 9th, 2025. And as it traverses this house, it's going to have an opportunity to sort of integrate into my everyday thoughts, speech, actions, my new belief system, my broadened belief system. Technically, Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini as it's in its furthest house from its home. And yet at the same time, Jupiter represents foreign travel, foreign places, foreign people, foreign things, and the diversity and that those cultures represent. So here I really believe that this is about opening things up, integrating into my everyday experience the broader ideologies that feel like hopes and dreams or wishes. We also see that Venus is here at 10 degrees of Gemini. The sun is at 11 degrees. This series of ones, including the Pluto, is really hitting me that there is a focus on that our thoughts are actually things that manifest. Focused thoughts produce a ripple effect that draw in the people, the situations, and the circumstances that support our focused thought. If we're constantly in a challenged thought, then that is what we tend to experience. And rather than blame ourselves, just to have an awareness of it, then we can start to shift the energy. We can see here that not only is Pluto retrograde in an exact trine to Jupiter, they both are in a sextile to Neptune. Neptune is at the 29th degree, which when you reduce it down is an 11, which once again is supporting that idea that thoughts are things. And now my awareness of the divine laws of the universe and my willingness to implement those laws, my willingness to be aware of those laws, and rather than trying to run away or escape them, now starting to use them as the platform for my manifestation. It's a very, very powerful dynamic. Let's go now to the 3rd, where Mercury will enter Gemini, joining the party going on there. And this is its rulership. So Mercury is very strong here. And here in this conjunction with Jupiter, there is the potential and the opportunity to integrate in my everyday speech, talk, what I absorb in the media, how I communicate in my emails, my everyday chat, really an opportunity to feel the power of that. And again, we're still feeling the sextile here to Neptune. We do see a growing square between Saturn in your 1st house and Venus and the sun. And And this square is going to grow tighter. Saturn is not going to move more than maybe a degree and a half before it begins its retrograde. So it's basically standing still in your first house, really demanding that you look at the structures that you're building mentally and emotionally. And while Saturn is known to remove any sort of fantasy, I don't know that the fantasy is something that you made up as much as it could be potentially that you're hoping a situation is going to change, and it has shown no evidence of shifting. So there needs to be a stronger intention about the situation, and that's the growing square. I believe that a square represents a fork in the road where I have a natural tendency, habit of thought, habit of behavior, and then I have things that I want to implement that are not natural to me yet. I haven't practiced them enough. And that square between Saturn, Venus, and the Sun, and Mercury will join it, and it will get more intense as we go through the month, is also echoed in Mars and Pluto's square. Mars is going to move into its detriment in Taurus in just a few days, making this square more intense. These two planets, Mars and Pluto, really take no prisoners when it comes to, you know, I shouldn't say this in such a, it seems kind of inflammatory, but they can get very angry and act out. And at the same time, they can be very brave and powerful. So this is where the fork in the road lies and where the choices lie. On the 6th, we're going to experience our new moon in Gemini. That's going to happen at 5:37 a.m. This is this to me feels very, very powerful because of Venus's conjunction to this new moon. Gemini is your 4th house of home. It's of self-nurturing. It's a healing house. It represents the maternal. And here, planting the seeds in the dark of the new moon for what you want to experience in the way of your home, in the way you want to feel balanced and healed from whatever experiences you've been going through, an opportunity to use your skills to create the partnerships that you want. Now, there is a bit of a challenge here to Pluto because there's a square and a half there to Pluto. But this is a little bit about the underbelly of what lies beneath our consciousness. Again, Aquarius is your 12th house, the house that rules the subconscious, what we are not aware of, what we don't know is sitting beneath us. So I think that's a powerful square, but it's also, Pluto is also supported by Jupiter in the trine. We see Mercury's in there, but it's getting loose, that trine. This is still very powerful for connecting at a bigger level, connecting with your guides, your angels, your team. Pisces is such a spiritual sign that it's almost a crime not to use your natural talents of being able to connect with the divine. And this is further supported by this sextile to Neptune, and that Neptune making the sextile to Pluto. And that's going to go on for years. Literally, as they change signs, are going to stay in sextile for over a decade. So this is a really powerful and a good opportunity to set an intention during this moon to capitalize on the higher vibrational habits that your soul has, and be willing to integrate the ones that are not serving you. Let's go on to the 9th, where we will see Mars enter Taurus. Now, I said it already, but Mars is going to be in detriment here. And what that really means for me is Mars goes from power and passion and fire into having to walk the talk, having to, land on the ground and really look at the landscape of what I'm walking through. And I found it interesting that at this noon time, the moon is making a square to Mars. The moon will be entering Leo soon. And this is really the last degrees of that nurturing, that self-healing, that giving yourself the space and the time to decipher and to breathe and to contemplate and make a decision. This moon's going to move quickly, but here at the 29th degree, we're connecting those ones again. It reduces down to an 11 in an opposition to the transformation that's being offered in your 12th house. And it could be a little bit unsettling, because as Pluto moves into your 11th house of hopes and dreams, there's going to call forth a stronger sense of building a strong platform of, something that you can balance on that will endure, which is what Saturn is doing in your first house, breaking down structures that aren't serving you, where you're giving your power away, where you're not utilizing your creativity. And that's, again, why this square becomes more challenging as we go through the month. Let's go on to this period between the 12th and the 16th. These days feel pretty powerful because this square, these two planets have already started to feel the exact square. Now Mercury's bringing up the rear. And this planet, Saturn, in your first house is literally standing with his hands on his hips saying, I'm not moving right now. I'm staring at you. What is the structure of your thought? What is your self-worth? How are you projecting yourself and your hopes and your dreams out into the world at large? And while you're experiencing that, you're seeing that the sun is making an exact sextile to Chiron in your second house. These other planets are still in sextile as well, Venus and Mercury. So this is the transformation of the wound to a gift. And the wound never really goes away. It's just a new awareness about the wound and whether I will let it tank me, pull me under, shut me out, make me feel isolated, or will I allow it to transform me and inspire me forward? I think this is really, really powerful. On the 17th, we're going to see Venus and Mercury move into Cancer. Cancer is your 5th house of creativity, of self-expression, of it's a warm, fuzzy house of fun and pleasure and entertainment and laughs and enjoyment. And while, at the beginning of the month, again, whenever we have a sign change, there's a weird feeling of the energies. We go from a really airy, quick to more of a slower emotional pace. And we could potentially, as a Pisces, you could be feeling this quincunx to Pluto, almost as if something's nagging you emotionally, but you don't have it in your conscious awareness. And I think that trying to figure out what it is actually giving you, would potentially put you into an old habit. When I look at the moon, again, the moon moves very quickly, but here at noon, it's in Scorpio in an exact opposition to Mars, and both Mars and the moon are squaring Pluto, and Pluto's making this quincunx to this energy with the sun, Venus, and Mercury, mostly Venus and Mercury. So this could be like one of those days where you just feel like, I don't know, I just don't feel like myself. I feel a little bit unsettled. I feel like I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving quick enough. And at the same time, a lot of things are actually happening underneath the surface that are going to be supported by Saturn's retrograde as we revisit some of those themes in your first house of building a strong structure for the self. We're going to go to the 21st now, where we're going to see the first of 2 full moons in Capricorn. Capricorn is your 11th house. This is going to be at 6:07 p.m. And I find this very fascinating because Neptune seems to be really a star player this month, I think, with all the focal points being towards that planet, the planet that says, will I escape? Will I run away? Will I mask and hide? Or will I transform and see the divinity within any disruption? This full moon is going to illuminate something. And I think it's going to illuminate something about your fears, your trepidations, your limitations, your restrictions, or the authorities you feel people have over you or situations have over you. And at the same time, there's a real opportunity because with the focal point being Neptune and Neptune making a sextile over here to your 12th house, there's an opportunity to take advantage of that flowy energy. And because every shift requires a bit of intention before it is rooted into the physical experience. So this is a continuation of intention to experience the divinity within anything that feels like it's challenging you. That's what I think is going on here. Let's go to the 29th, where Saturn begins its retrograde in your first house. This to me is, again, this opportunity. It starts at the very balancing degree, the harmonious degree of Libra. How am I in partnership with my oversoul, my higher self? Am I taking this earthly experience too much to heart? Meaning, am I looking at what I see and making it real, or do I know that there's something more for me? I really think this is a powerful, powerful energy. We see that Saturn, as it begins its retrograde, is in a loose trine with Venus. And I think this is going to focus on self-care, nurturing, allowing for a bigger picture, even maybe resting, doing things that feel so, they call it comfort food. It might be one of those times when you allow yourself some comfort energy, comfort food, comfort time, comfort, like, sitting with your cozy blankets and a fuzzy pillow or fuzzy slippers and a pillow, and indulging yourself in some way that replenishes you rather than pulls you under. The challenge with the Saturn retrograde in your first house is that Saturn can feel very unemotional and very rather almost like a sergeant of some kind, or a military, commander. And here you are, Pisces, this compassionate, warm, loving, creative, sees the best in situations. And this isn't about giving up any of that. It's an integration. And I think the integration is understanding that the parameters of the human experience have boundaries and limitations and rules. And yet within this human earthly experience, we are in a cosmic consciousness that has a bigger picture. So as you implement the divine laws of the universe, not just this planet, I think you'll start to see a shift, and a more powerful shift, and a shift that offers you liberation on some level from that which has held you small, or has held you in a place of not experiencing your full blossoming. I also noticed that on this day, when Saturn retrogrades, we see that in your third house of communication, self-talk, and who, is making a beautiful aspect to Venus. And then it's also making a good aspect to the Saturn retrograde. So this is where I'm starting to think, can I be brave enough to really hang on to my talents and my skills? Can I implement the self-talk that supports my creativity? And I think that is a yes. And I think it's just a matter of pacing yourself and being gentle with yourself as you recognize that this human experience is not just you and your brain, but all the outside stimulus that comes along with it. So when we see Jupiter transiting your fourth house, there could be so much energy that's surrounded about how you allow yourself to feel a sense of comfort and a sense of security within the home, but also not allowing it to be the place where you escape from the darkness. I feel like that's a little bit what Saturn brings in about addressing potentially your fears, depression, trepidation. And if that has been at all a theme in your life path, then this is an opportunity to rewrite that story. How does that experience inspire me into a different type of action, into something that's stronger and more aligned to my truth at a soul level? We see this is a really slow moving trine, but we see right now Uranus is at the last stages of your third house, offering you liberation and offering you a futuristic way of thinking of things, almost even offering you experimentation. Uranus rules science, and science figures things out through hypothesizing and then experimenting with their hypothesis and their theories. So this could be a theory about your transformation. We see that we have this trine to Pluto, and this is just going to grow over time as Pluto retrogrades back into Capricorn at 29 degrees and then moves forward again. And Uranus is going to continue to move forward. So that's going to stay in play. So again, these times right now, I believe that as we moved into the 2020s, on the earth plane, as a collective consciousness, we've all agreed to really accept and surrender to the transformations for our highest and greatest good. And each month that we walk through these planetary changes, we experience levels of that opportunity. And while it's not easy to break down the old structures that we've become used to, sometimes they're just antiquated and they don't really work efficiently anymore. And that's why I think Neptune is so powerful in your first house right now, giving you an opportunity to really apply your spiritual practices. And on one last note, I just want to say this for my Pisces. Meditation sometimes is hard to do, to sit quietly and just try to quiet the mind. I tend to use the shower as a meditation time. Often it's a time of setting intentions, opening myself up to greater service, allowing the water to wash away anything, illusions, or any feelings of being too small. And being afraid to express my voice. So you might, being the water sign that you are and the private time that the shower represents, you might use that and try implementing that over this month and see how that works for you. But in the meantime, make it as great a month as you can. I think there's a lot of favorable things going on. I believe that tension helps us grow. They say when you're building your body, you break down muscle to build it up. And this is a little bit of what we're experiencing, especially with Pluto's energy affecting so many dynamics within our life. All right, my Pisces, thank you so much for listening. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. If you'd like to book a reading with me, I am available. My information is below in the description. Please like, please subscribe, please share, and please comment. I love reading all your comments. And I will be back in July. And in the meantime, you have a fabulous June 2024. See you soon.